The Atlantic actually published the full signal chat messages showing the military plans about the U.S. strike in Yemen. Journalists inadvertently was receiving the sensitive military information. That journalist being Jeffrey Goldberg, the editor-in-chief of the Atlantic, who was mistakenly included in a signal group chat where senior Trump officials were actually talking about a planned military attack that was happening in a few hours. Now, while Mr. Goldberg has been attacked as a guy that doesn't like Trump very much, which is pretty much obvious, it is a kind of the telling tale about this app, which does have encryption on both ends, but is not the most secure thing. And in fact, there are actual memos on not using it for things like this being used for things like this. On that group chat were Vice President J.D. Vance, National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, and a few other folks that were kind of important. Goldberg reported that the chat contained detailed operation plans, including specific times and targets and weapon systems going forward. This can't be disputed. Now, what's happened is the response for this inclusion has come up with some inadvertent hearings. People that were going to have hearings anyway were sort of there, so they asked them the questions. That being the Tulsi Gabbard and the head of intelligence, having to answer these questions. They were both on the chat as well, and people kind of figuring out what is going on, going through journalistic ethics, and what would happen if Vladimir Putin's number was in Waltz's phone and he put him into the chat. Trump administration has downplayed the severity of the breach, basically blaming Signal, the app, with the Defense Secretary Hegseth saying, "But we won. It worked." That's sort of how we do things, which is great. We won, we worked, but the ends don't always justify the means, and the means of transmission has been extremely questioned, including the fact that every person I know who had any sort of military or top secret clearance background, including myself, would have been fired for something much, much less. So the complexity of the situation is there. There's a lot of semantics, a lot of back and forth saying it's not a war act, it's a action, and we won anyway. We did the right thing, and maybe we complain about Europe a little bit, but that's what we do, which is beyond the point. These are kind of gaffes that are, in most cases, you can't get away from, you can't outlive, you can't fix going forward. Unfortunately, the way Donald Trump runs his cabinet, these folks aren't going anywhere, and hopefully it doesn't get worse.